ever woken up so early for a flight that you already felt tired before leaving the house? I'm Jason, and this is Jason's Easy English, a podcast that helps you improve your English and learn about American culture with clear, understandable episodes in authentic, everyday language. Today, I'm going to tell you a story about an early morning airport experience in the U.S., from getting out of bed half asleep to finally getting on the plane. Along the way, I'll explain some very common airport expressions Americans really use. And just a quick reminder, if you like what you hear, please be sure to follow or subscribe. All right, let's go ahead and get started. And just a quick note before we begin. This story is fictional, but the situations and language are very realistic and very American. So, my alarm went off at 4:30 in the morning, and honestly, I was not happy. I was tired, my head felt heavy, and I was a little crabby. The word crabby means being in a bad mood and easily annoyed, usually because you're tired or hungry. So in Portuguese, it's like mal-humorado, or in Spanish, de mal humor. Have you ever felt like that early in the morning? Very crabby? So I got dressed, grabbed my suitcase, and drove to the airport while it was still dark outside. The streets were quiet, but my brain wasn't fully awake yet. I felt like I was just going through the motions. Now that expression, going through the motions, means doing things automatically, without much energy or attention. In Portuguese, it's like fazer as coisas no automático, or in Spanish, hacer las cosas en automático, going through the motions. When I arrived at the airport, I parked in the garage and took the elevator down to the terminal. Inside the airport, the lights were bright and everything felt busy. The first thing I did was check a bag. To check a bag means to give your suitcase to the airline so it goes inside or underneath the plane. In Portuguese, despachar bagagem, despachar uma mala. In Spanish, they usually say facturar or registrar una maleta. After that, I went to security. In U.S. airports today, you usually don't have to take off your shoes anymore, which is nice, but you still need to take some items out of your carry-on. A carry-on is a small bag you keep with you on the plane. Bagagem de mão, or equipaje de mano, right? The agent looked at my bag and said, "Sir, please take your laptop and tablet out of your carry-on." I did that, put everything in the bin, and walked through the scanner. Of course, it beeped. The agent then said, "Sir, please step aside." To step aside means to move away from the line and wait. So in Portuguese, a natural translation might be something like se afastar, or in Spanish, hacerse a un lado. Now everything was fine, but because I was sleepy and crabby, it felt more stressful than it really was. Once I finished security, I knew exactly what I needed: coffee. After a few big sips, I finally started to mellow out. Now, to mellow out means to calm down and relax emotionally, like ficar mais tranquilo, or relajarse in Spanish. With my coffee, I walked to my gate, o portão. I sat down and I checked my phone. That's when I heard the announcement. My flight was delayed 30 minutes. Everyone around me sighed, ugh, at the same time. Delays like this are very common in the United States, especially early in the morning. Here's the funny moment. The guy sitting next to me stood up, stretched, and said, "Well, I guess we all live here now." I laughed, and suddenly the delay didn't feel so bad. Sometimes a small joke can make all the difference. Finally, boarding started. In the U.S., airlines usually use boarding groups, or grupos de embarque, grupo de abordaje in Spanish. First, they called Group 1, then Group 2, then Group 3. That was me. I stood up, got in line, walked down the jet bridge, and found my seat. I sat down, took a deep breath, and thought, okay, now I can relax. All right, I hope that story was interesting and understandable. Before I let you go, let's review the main points of today's podcast. Today we learned some very useful airport English. We learned the word crabby, which means in a bad mood, usually because you're tired or hungry or both. We talked about going through the motions, meaning doing things automatically without much thought or energy. We learned check a bag, which means to give your suitcase to the airline. We also talked about a carry-on bag, the small bag you take on the plane with you. We learned step aside, meaning to move away and wait, se afastar, hacerse a un lado. We also used mellow out, which means to calm down and relax, and boarding groups. They're groups that tell you when you can get on the plane, in what order. All of these expressions are very common in U.S. airports and real-life conversations. Well, that's all I have for today. I hope you were able to understand most of the episode and learn something new. Be sure to follow or subscribe to my podcast. And please share Jason's Easy English with your friends who are also learning English. Thanks again for listening. I'll see you next time.